A very, very warm welcome to all of you. Before I start, I'd like to first walk you through the legacy of the Ladies Study Group.
Ladies Study Group was started under the aegis of the Indian Chamber of Commerce.
My senior friends, Shri S.S. Kanoria and Shri G.K. Bhagat, thought about the idea that the ladies who were associated with their husbands with the chamber, they should understand a little more about economics and business. The word study exemplifies it all.
Thank you all my past presidents for making what Ladies Study Group is today. And as we embark on our next chapter, onto its 59 years of creating strong impact, I stand before you feeling deeply honored, enthusiastic for the year ahead. I'm excited about this journey as we will all be taking together, carrying forward the legacy and embracing the new energy. Our motto for the year, Lead the Change, is a call to action that resonates deeply with each of us, but sometimes we all need a little nudging to ignite the spark within. What does it mean to lead the change? For some, it may be about making a difference in their community. For many, it may be about pursuing a new passion or a career path. Others may be harboring a deep desire to uplift lives or find solutions to a global change. Lead the Change is not merely a slogan. It's a gentle reminder, a bold call, not to just adapt, but to influence, not to just witness or expect transformation, but to become the very spark that sets it in motion. Imagine the collective impact when hundreds of us choose to lead this change in different aspects of our lives, creating a bold community of women determined to make a difference. Let's make it happen. And what way to begin better than these two extraordinary women who truly lead the change in thought, in practice, and in spirit. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Rujuta Divekar and her mother, Rekha Divekar, to the Ladies Study Group today. Rujuta is a name well known to all of us, but really she's a movement. As India's most celebrated nutritionist, she has transformed the way we think about food, fitness, and wellness. Her voice, grounded in the wisdom of our traditions and backed by modern science, has reached millions. Her clients definitely include celebrities, but her heart beats for the common Indian, for the farmer, soldier, child, and women. Her work with the Indian Army, especially those stationed in the extreme terrain, is both inspiring and humbling. Her deep involvement with government-led health initiatives and the fact that her recommendations have found global recognition, including from the UNICEF, speaks volumes about her commitment, not just to personal being, but national health. What makes today even more special is that she is joined by the most amazing Rekha Divekar, because behind every strong woman, there often stands another strong woman. But we know that it takes one strong woman to raise another strong woman. Rekha Divekar, Rujita's mother, is a pillar of strength and inspiration in her life, a homemaker, a passionate cook, and an ex-professor of chemistry, now a heritage food expert and a promoter of kitchen chemistry. Rekha ji has been instrumental in shaping Rujita's love for food and nutrition from a very young age. Chiki Sarkar is a prominent Indian publisher and entrepreneur, best known as the founder of Juggernaut Books, a pioneering digital-first publishing platform. Born in Kolkata to Mr. Avik Sarkar and the most prolific Rakhi Sarkar, she began her publishing career at Bloomsbury in London before returning to India to lead Random House India and later Penguin Random House. She launched Juggernaut Books, aiming to revolutionize reading and writing in India through a mobile-first approach. Today, we will witness more than just a conversation. We will witness a passing of values, a celebration of legacy, and continuity of purpose across generations, beyond food and well-being. At LSG, we always believed in thoughtful dialogue, in shared learning, and in nurturing each other's growth. The year ahead, I hope, would be a reflection of that and more. So let us listen and reflect. Let us begin this year not just by being present, but by being intentional, not by listening, but also living the learnings, not just by admiring the change makers, but also stepping up to be a part of their tribe. For what we don't know about Rujuta is she started her career as an aerobics instructor and went on to be the founder of Urja, a gym, with a 5 lakh loan to set it up. She got married to the most charming and soft-spoken Gaurav Punj on a trek. She is the trendsetter, trending now with her new title, The Common Sense Diet. Rujuta has very generously gifted all of us her autographed books, which I hope you all will pick up on the way out. I really hope you enjoy your journey to a happy self and good health. Grateful for your presence today. May I request Rujuta, Rekha Aunty, and Chiki to please join us on stage. A career spanning 20 years, with over 1.5 million copies sold of 10 books, having almost as many followers on Instagram, over 300 million views on your video, long list of celebrities in parallel to being India's public health advocate and one of the most followed nutritionists. Where did it all begin for you? And what's your earliest memory of being intrigued by the mystic world of food?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's my second time at LSG, and all the best, Richa, for the new year. And I'm sure that you will all be seeing many wonderful events under her presidentship. I love her, so I'm rooting for her. Yeah. Almost everyone on the stage are women I love. Chiki is someone I think I owe my career to her. Mother,
I
think I
owe
owe my
career to Rujuta.
Oh,
she was
thank
my
you.
first hit. So it's mutual.
Yeah, it's mutual. And also my mother, to whom, of course, I owe my entire life. What do I think about food? I think about food as something over which people come together. I think about food as something that we share our love and grief and gossip and celebration over. I think of food as something which gets people out of the bed to even go for a morning walk. So I think food is multiple things. My grandfather was, he would go for a morning walk every day. And he had a group of men who would walk along with him. And then almost every single day, they would eat either a vada pav or a peda because someone's grandson cleared 10th, someone is having a 50th anniversary, someone's 60th birthday. And my grandfather would call everyone. When he was 80, people who were 65 and 70, he thought they were much older than him because they wouldn't eat as much as he could. So I think food is something which also keeps us alive. So I think my early and my continuing memories about food are basically about love and people. Thank you.
So, Rujuta, I've done lots of chats with you, but this is the first time I'm doing a conversation with you and your mom. And I have a question for Mrs. Devekar. We all know Rujuta as this straight-talking, tough-minded, girl with a gift of the gab, a sense of humor. And it's that voice that I think has made Rujuta so beloved, because of course many people can give us all, the right diet advice, don't eat this, do that, do that. But it's the way that Rujuta does it that makes her specially kind of wonderful, and it's why you're all here. And I wanted to ask you, Mrs. Divekar, what was Rujuta like as a child? Was she like that? Because that sounds like a terrifying child.
Well, first of all, Chiki, I just want to say that one of the reasons why my voice sounds like the way it sounds is because Chiki doesn't touch it. She allows it to reach the people like the way it should. So one of the reasons why everyone is also here in the room is you, Chiki. If it wasn't for the books, I think no one would come for this.
But Mrs. Divekar, you have to spill the beans now.
From her childhood, she was very different. In our house, she was always called as Ti Jaga Vegri hai. That is, she is different from the world, because she always used to be very firm in her opinions. Now, I remember one incident, I will like to share that. When she went for one trip to Kolhapur, along with, in the school time, and she was either, I think, 8th or 9th standard. And one of the girls in their group was having periods. So their teacher told her not to enter the temple. So Rujuta fought for her. I mean, she could convince her teacher that please don't do that, allow her to enter in the temple. So like that, she had that capacity of convincing others. So from that age, it is continuing till today when she is convincing all of you to eat right.
No, thank you. But was it terrifying? Yes, it was terrifying for my mother to, have me and also my sister. And just like the way you don't cut my words, I think one of the things that my mother has done is not clipped our wings, both for me and my sister. I think that's how you can go on with your life.
But she sounds like she was hard to discipline, huh?
So tell me, Rujuta, how did Auntie really influence your interest in food and nutrition, being the person you were? Sorry? How did Auntie really influence your food?
Okay, my mother, how did she create this influence? Actually, my mother's mother is a wonderful cook. And, my mother comes from a very big joint family of 7 kakas or 7 brothers, then 7 wives, then many cousins, and 4 atyas or buas. And her mother was a very good cook, but they would always, in the family, rate who's the best cook for various dishes. So I think my sense of food and nurture came from there, that, food is also about cooperation, competition, collaboration, and also about plain creativity and fun. So there is just so much more to food. That's where my interest started. Also, my mother was a working mother. She worked her entire life, and people would often wonder, some people would wonder that, how does she manage food? But I think because my mother also loved cooking, she would always wake up in the morning, cook our breakfast, cook lunch, and then for dinner we would have someone who would come and cook. So food was not secondary because she had a career. I think that is also something, I have lived that life, so I feel that it's very, very empowering that you can also continue to have good food on your plate only if there is adequate finance in the house. I think that is also a learning that I have had. So for me, food has always been a lot more than just protein, carb, calories, fiber, all of those things.
Mrs. Divekar, have you always loved to cook? I often find that, when you are a daughter of a very good cook, you sometimes even feel a bit scared of going into the kitchen, I certainly find that, I'm terrified of cooking Bengali food because, I grew up with such good Bengali food in my house. Did you ever have any of those fears, or you were always just a confident, easy
I was quite confident because my mother was a working woman, not only my mother, but my grandmother was also working.
Wow.
So she was one of the, I think, first batch of women who started their careers, and not career as such, but teacher.
Well, so you were 4 generations
Yeah.
of working women?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it was very natural for me to work and cook.
And what was, since you came from a cooking family, what were some of the dishes that you guys cooked that were famous in your house?
Actually, for every month, I mean for every occasion or for every festival, we had one food. I mean for Holi, we used to have Puran Poli. All of you must have tasted it. But in our house, whenever we used to have Puran Poli, one day previously, my mother used to make ghee out of homemade butter. And then we used to have coconut milk along with Puran Poli. So Puran Poli plus ghee plus coconut milk was served during the Holi season. And at that time, everything was not available around the year. Nowadays what happens, during Diwali, we have chaklis and laddus like that at that time, at our time. But nowadays, over the year, around the year, everything is available. So there is no novelty or we don't wait when the Diwali will come and when we will have chance to eat that. So I think that is the difference. And every month, every festival, there was something new coming up. That is for Baisakh or Chaitra Mahina, we used to have Ampanha and Ambedar we used to prepare. So like that in every month there is some chance to make good food, enjoy.
I just want to add to that. I think one of the things which kept the love of cooking in women alive in our family was also the fact that men helped in the kitchen very, very generously. Yes. And also ensured that there was a ton of appreciation for every meal that was cooked. So I think being seen, being contributed in the task that one was doing, knowing that this was not just a gender-based task, and truly seeing appreciation in what you have prepared, I think that kind of motivates people and takes away the fear. So many times I feel, that when someone makes a meal, a good meal, all that they're really hoping for is that the person that you serve the meal to will receive it with joy and love, and not with dieting, natak and nakra. So I think in this whole world of dieting, our joy of receiving or our ability to receiving has kind of gotten down, which is why we wonder why were you not scared of cooking. I think if you have an enabling environment to cook, you cook and you love cooking, feeding and eating together.
Wow, thank you. We've been constantly hearing about how our gut health really is a reflection of our emotional state. What do you think should be the rituals that you should take care for being healthy both together?
I think actually my mother can answer the gut health question quite well, because with age, our gut or our digestion capacity actually begins to go down. And she now carries a few things with her which are always in the, in her purse, which she can share with you. For me, right now, what I want to say is that the gut is just a stylish way of talking about your digestion, okay? It is nothing else but digestion. Everything from mouth to anus is gut, and gut feeling ko agar aap sunoge, to then you will realize that every few years the weight loss industry wants to spotlight one new organ in our body and talk about it, as if we are just that one organ and not a complete person. So kabhi gut, kabhi skin for collagen, kabhi hair, skin, nails, kabhi bones, kabhi something else. But gut is just plain digestion. And if you really look at the Upanishads, I'm not going to talk about it from the point of view of food because I think I'll let her answer that. Then in Upanishad, which I've also written about in my book, there is a formula called Ayu, Vayu and Payu. Okay, Ayu, Vayu, Payu is, Ayu is our life, the length of our life. We talk so much about longevity and stuff like that. Vayu is basically, Vayu is the breath or the vital pran which keeps us alive. जब हमारी दादी या नानी कहती है मेरा गैस चढ़ गया है, she is basically talking about the Vayu. And Payu are our feet, okay? And the understanding in the Upanishads is that till the time that you use your feet, if you keep using your feet properly, then the Vayu, which is inside your stomach, is in a state of a balance or samana, and then that gives you a long life. So the next time you're stuck in a traffic jam, get out of the car, start walking, and remember the formula of Ayu, Vayu, Payu. Don't wait for a European holiday to walk, you know. So if you're really interested in your gut, Ayu, Vayu, Payu. Because one of the ironies of modern life is people wear a watch which tracks their steps, but park closest to the shop, you know, and all that you do land up doing is you inconvenience the pedestrian, and you'll end up buying more products for your gut just because you're not using your feet as often as you should be. Okay, so now you can tell them about food.
So actually probiotic and prebiotic, both the foods are there in our regular diet. If you are taking diet, not looking at the nutrients and the calories. That is, if you are eating everything which you are supposed to eat, like vegetables, rice, millets, or roti, chapati, wheat, and then everything, dal, everything if you are eating, then there is, of course, ghee and chutneys. Everything is there on your plate, then your pre and probiotic bacteria will flourish. Because probiotic bacteria, they grow. That is, when we are having a curd, and not packaged curd, when we are making curd at home, and if you keep aside, like in this summer for say 8 to 10 hours, then it becomes sour. And it means that the bacteria is growing. Okay, so that is probiotic bacteria. And then prebiotic, that is the food which allows probiotic bacteria to flourish. And all those are grains which we are eating. Unfortunately, what we are doing now is eating just soups and salads. So that should not be done. Whenever, now we just visited at Chiki's place for lunch. So there was dahi. So we have probiotic, of course. Along with that, we had so many different vegetables, and we had all, you can say, whatever Bengali speciality is there, it was there on our plate. So it was full of pre and probiotic bacteria. So that is what you should have.
I just want to add to that using our feet often as far as gut health and mental health goes, going out for a walk is also probably the best thing, or walking often is also amongst the best things that you can do for your mental health, which is also why there is this phrase called, I walked away from that situation, because you know that if you're going to be in that situation for too long, then it is going to disturb your digestion, because the first place where you will see stress is in your digestion. So, walking and eating regular food and eating it with the screens off is probably the best thing that you can do for your gut health / digestion.
There is a cultural and a natural obsession with being slim, especially more after 40. How do we redefine fitness without really trying to talk about weight?
I've been working from 99 I don't own a weighing scale. We do not have a weighing scale in our office. We don't weigh anyone that we work with. We are still in business, you know, because people are a lot more than their weight. They want to be noticed for everything that they bring to the table, and they do not want to be reduced to their body weight. After 40, why are we obsessed with looking thin? I guess because we are just told, mostly as women, that we are not allowed to get old. कि अगर हम लोग old हो जाएंगे तो हमारी currency कम हो जाएगी. But the thing is that at 16 भी हम लोग की currency कुछ खास नहीं रहती है, you know. So the thing is that whether we are 16 or 46 or 86, what keeps us in good shape, what brings value is our character, our strength, and what we are able to do with our life on a day-to-day basis, and not about how thin we looked at some random person's wedding, you know. So looking thin at someone's wedding, looking thin on New Year's, this whole obsession that women have with looking thin is really about somewhere, you know, when we live in patriarchy. It is also about shrinking in our size so that we are not seen, and shrinking so that we are not a burden on others. And then over a period of time, we also begin to shrink in our views and in our voice. So never ever shrink in your body size. If you want your rightful place under the sun, the least that should happen is that you should be seen. So, you know, don't bother about fitting into a smaller size. Right now, when you had, you know, I was just looking at this little slideshow that you had for LSG. I think what LSG has been doing since 1966 is wonderful. But then I was thinking to myself, look at the number of women who have come as guests. You know, there aren't too many women who came as guests, or at least the ones that you highlight in your, you know, on your slide. We see so many men, we see very few women, and then even amongst the women, we see mostly the representation of women is coming from politics and not from other areas of life. So I think if you're a woman who is not in politics, size mein badh jao so that LSG will call you for a talk, you know. And know that body is something which keeps changing. It isn't, it's an alive tissue. It cannot be kept to just one size. अगर 40 में 20 के जैसा दिखोगे तो चुड़ैल माने जाओगे. You know, 40 में you need to look like a 40-year-old. Indian क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Our imagination of Chudail is not an old girl. She's a young girl, you know, someone who is always young, who refuses to mature with time. वही होती है हमारी भूतनी, you know. So seriously, real women change with time. A bhutni has long hair all the time, you know. उम्र के साथ बाल झड़ते हैं, skin sag होती है. Then you're a human being. अगर सब कुछ वैसे से वैसा ही रहा तो probably you're not human. You've not even taken birth yet. People are just imagining that you're there. So the obsession with being young has to end so that we can do everything that we want to do in our life. Otherwise, 90% of our bandwidth goes in how we are looking, and social media is ensuring that 120% of our bandwidth is going in how we are looking. So we get nothing done in our day. I just want to share something with you that just last week, I was at Rishikesh airport and I was walking towards the gate, and then I met a man whom I have met in Ramjula 17, 20 years ago, okay? And then he met me and he said, Rujuta ji? So I said, yes. Then GP was with me, so he looked at GP and he said, Gaurav? So GP also said, yes. Then he looked at me and he said, बहुत put on कर लिए आप? It is amazing. मैंने बाकी भी बहुत कुछ कर लिया in the last 20 years that you've seen me, you know. But when people make a comment about you, it is a much bigger reflection of their state of mind than your size or shape.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, right? I mean, you are absolutely saying the right thing, Rujita, right? Like, I get you. Everyone in this room agrees with you. But we all have this irrational self alongside our rational self, right? So take me, you know, a year and a half ago, I've had a baby, and I gained these extra 4 kgs that just won't go, okay? And I'm not going to, like, go on a diet. I'm just going to keep doing what I do, which is eat healthy and exercise and make peace with it. But there are days when it bugs me, there are days when it doesn't, right? And I'm sure everyone in this room feels like me, right? Like, of course we want to be totally at ease with our bodies and be at our weight and be totally free from it, but we aren't, right? And even me, who's worked with you for 15 years, has totally absorbed all your fundas. Even I have, like, my moments when I go, damn, those 4 kgs, you know? So what you do? I mean, what do us flawed, imperfect people around this room do when we know that we shouldn't, but we can't stop ourselves from feeling that way?
See, if weight is really bothering you, then make sure that you have enough money, because Elon Musk is sending everyone to space and then we can get weightless once we reach there. You know, weight is not something that we can be bothered by. What we must worry about is, do I have enough strength in my legs? Do I have the bone density? Do I have the clarity in my mind? And as far as women go, do I also have the strength to say no? You know, I mean, a lot of times we don't say no to many things. So, Chiki, this is after your 3rd baby. If you're just 5 kgs up, I think it is more than okay. You know, you look lovely, of course. And more than the 4 kgs, you should worry about, can you pick your child? Can you run after your child? Can you ensure that the older one doesn't begin to feel left out once the new one comes in? Can you still do, you know, can you still be there for all your demanding authors and your team and the press and stuff? So I think that is a much bigger thing, and you're able to do all of that with such ease and elan that no one noticed that you gained 4 kilos, you know, nor should you. So in the book, in fact, we have this one concept called the happy weight. Happy weight is the weight that you enjoy being at while you do everything that you do, without second guessing every morsel that you will eat. Because, you know, while we talk about longevity, we are here for a limited time. Ek time aisa bhi aayega when we will be around, but we won't be able to eat everything that we want to eat. And once we are a dead body, people around us will eat, but we will still not be able to eat, you know. I dread that time, which is why in India, even to a dead body, they offer bhat, you know, that tum bhi aao, kha ke jao. So, yeah, we can't be bothered about our weight. I'm going to tell you an old joke that I used to tell everyone when I started my career. It's not a joke, I feel it's reality. That till the time that you are alive, just worry about whether you feel light on your 2 feet, you know. So you should feel light when you stand up on your own 2 feet. You should feel energetic. You should feel like exercising. You should feel good when you're relaxing and stuff like that. But basically, while you're alive, just worry about, do I feel light when I'm standing on your own 2 feet? Because एक बार मर जाएंगे, तो ऑलरेडी अपने इधर एक सिस्टम है कि 4 लोग कंधा देने के लिए आते हैं, एंड वी विल नॉट हैव टू कैरी आवर वेट, और लोग कॉम्पिटिशन करते कि मैं भी देता हूँ, मैं भी देता हूँ. सो वी आर एक्चुअली क्वाइट सॉर्टेड. सो इन आवर लाइफ वी शुड मेक श्योर दैट वी आर नॉट बिकमिंग अ बैगेज ऑन टू आवर सेल्व्स. एंड आई वॉन्ट टू टेल यू दैट चिक्की के लिए दिस 4 kgs इज नॉट अ बैगेज. शी इज जस्ट प्लेइंग टू द गैलरी एंड आस्किंग दिस क्वेश्चन, यू नो.
Rujita knows me very well.
Rikati, at this time and age when all of us are talking about perimenopause, what are the effects? Did it really exist, and really has it affected you, and in what ways?
Actually, I think everyone has different experience depending upon your genetics, your genes, as well as your lifestyle, what you are eating, how your thoughts are there during that particular period. So, all these things are very important. For some ladies, it is very easy. You never know how the perimenopause has come and how the menopause has actually happened. But for some women, there is a trouble. But I can't say that every woman will be having this problem. If you keep thinking about it, you may be having that problem. I always thought that whenever I was working, having two daughters at home, and in the college also I had many responsibilities. So there was no time to think, abhi menopause aayega and all that. So you should keep yourself busy. That is what I think. Not only during menopause, pre-menopause, but after retirement or after doing, I am also doing all these things because I want to keep myself busy so that negativity doesn't come.
I just want to add on the menopause bit. I think my mother will probably, though she's saying that one should not remember, when she hit her menopause, I think she bled for many days at a stretch, and it was quite a horrific situation for her. And women of her generation were almost taught to make light of any bodily suffering that they may have. So she didn't pay attention to it, so much so that even me and my sister didn't pay any attention to it. I always feel that if men in our households, if your father even has a headache, I think everyone kind of notices it. But if your mother is like running to the bathroom because she's bleeding, you'll just turn around and feel like, okay, let me just get on with my life. She will handle it herself. The generation now, I think in their 40s to 60s, is not taking the bodily suffering and thinking that I should just take this for lightly or not pay any attention to it. And that is also thanks to her generation, which has kind of figured out that this was probably not the best route forward, just ignoring the body, just getting on with one's life was probably not the best way forward. Of course, thankfully, she didn't have any other complication other than a lot of bleeding on a few days. But one shouldn't wait all the way up to an emergency situation to take cognizance of what is happening in the body. So I just want to say that if you are at a menopausal phase, don't worry. It is a natural thing. But ensure that you're making the time to exercise at least 3 days a week and taking plenty of rest. So I think here she and I may differ, where, on the one hand, she's saying just get on with your life and don't think about anything. Partly you need that, but partly you also need to step back, chill, relax a bit, because at the end of just running around all day, there is nothing to be earned. But if you take the time to unwind and relax, then maybe you have the strength, the resilience, and the capacity to take on everything that will come the next day. So it's really about maintaining that fine balance of not ignoring oneself, but making the time to exercise, making the time to rest, and also including things like nuts or laddus, in one's diet, because menopause is also the time where there are a whole lot of sugar cravings, and we will end up satiating our sugar cravings with all the junk in the world, but not eat the laddus and burfis and halwas in our home. If we eat the laddus and burfis and halwas in our home, we get more bang for the buck because we get more nutrient per calorie. And when we are eating things like the dark chocolate or the ice cream or whatever, our nutrient to calorie ratio is poorer. So that is something that I would like to say. And I also want to say that one of the reasons why my mother could get on with her menopause like the way she did is because she went for yoga class, she went for singing class. She never really gave up on herself, you know. So though there was that little thing of make light of your bodily suffering, there was also no such thing of don't invest any time in yourself. So I think that's where probably, you know, every 10 years, hopefully women will just be into a more empowered stage and environment to live their life and to pay attention to what they really need to pay attention to.
No, the main important thing I wanted to say in this respect is, nowadays what happens is we Google everything. So मेनोपॉज आएगा तो अभी क्या क्या होगा, तो जैसे आप सोचोगे वैसे कभी कभी होता है, you start feeling that way. So from that point of view, don't think about it.
What role do you think food really plays in easing symptoms like brain fog, mood swings, hot flushes? Are there any Indian food or practices that you would like to recommend? Because I think that's a conversation we have very often, that I am fatigued or I'm feeling brain fogged. I don't remember the simplest and the easiest of things. All of us are constantly looking for solutions.
You know, much more than a specific food which will get rid of brain fog, fatigue, and tiredness and sleep debt, the main thing that will get rid of these symptoms is a woman's permission to herself to eat. I find a lot of women being suboptimal or subpar just because they're not allowing themselves the permission or the liberty to eat. So on a day that they want to eat 3 chapatis, they want to self-censor and stop at 1. When they want to eat 2, they want to self-censor and not eat even 1 and eat only some dal and sabzi. You know, if we keep under-eating our entire lives, then we start blaming hormones, perimenopause, husband, and those kind of things for our condition. But it is basically just plain simple us not eating, and these are women who come from homes where there is enough to eat. तो आज 2 रोटी चाहिए तो 2 मिलेगा, 5 चाहिए तो 5 मिलेगा, 7 चाहिए तो 7 मिलेगा, 1 चाहिए तो 1 मिलेगा, गरम वाला भी मिलेगा. But we are not allowing ourselves to eat, but we want others to validate and to take our opinion on various things. अरे पहला हम लोग तो खुद को ठीक से treat करें, you know. Who are the people that we treat well? जिसको मतलब, how do I know that someone is respected? If they are fed well on the table. I think in Marwadi community, you know, this manwar, this whole manwar thing is reserved for the jamain. Correct, is reserved for the guest. उसमें भी सबसे बड़ा कुंवर सा, you know, जमाई के लिए हम लोग इसको रिजर्व करते हैं. हम लोग उसको इतना नॉर्मलाइज किए that इनो के एड्स भी आ गए. Women feeding a young boy and him getting. Every time I look at these ads, I feel anger. You know, I really feel that where are the ads where women are being fed by men, or even where a young woman is being fed by an older woman, or an older woman is fed by, we just don't have that. We accept that as reality. And then we watch some Hollywood movies where the hero is making breakfast for the girl one night and bringing it to her on the bed. I mean, like, 10 दिन के बाद भी लाएगा क्या? You know, so the thing is that how do you get rid of all of these things? How do you get rid of brain fog? First of all, eat. Know that appetite is a fluctuating entity. As per the season, it is going to change. As per the company that you keep, it's going to change. As per the location that you know that you are at, it's going to change. I was at Chicky's house today. If I had had 3 more hours, I could have eaten 3 more times than what I ate. You know, because it's like if you have good company, you have good food, you have good conversations, your stomach will dilate and you'll be able to eat everything. If you're eating with some manus insan, you don't feel like eating at all. You know, so I really feel that how do you make sure that you are always portion controlling? Choose wrong friends, marry wrong men, you know, then you're constantly um, on a diet and eating much lesser than what you should be eating. Um, but if you want like quick, easy, food में आप क्या खा सकते हो? For brain fog and stuff, so the number one food would be banana. You know, banana is an excellent meal. In fact, most actors that I work with, every time that they will get papped when they like leave the airport and stuff, they will eat a banana so that they're looking fresh, they're glowing, they don't look dehydrated. So when you're on a long flight and you want to come out and take a picture, make sure that you've eaten a banana. जब pilot बोलता है ना, wear your seat belt, I think that's the time that you eat the banana. So banana is the first food. The second food which helps you feel better mentally is peanuts. And in your city there is this whole jhalmudi culture or mudi culture. So you eat something nice, crunchy, and you feel like everything's fine with the world, and your hormone cortisol also begins to settle. I always feel when you're eating peanuts, then you begin to think, actually, मेरा husband इतना भी बुरा नहीं है. मेरे बच्चे का एडमिशन हो जाएगा, इधर नहीं उधर हो जाएगा, no problem. So you kind of begin to get more positive if you're eating peanuts, So eat your jhalmudi. And the third thing, which I think everyone should eat, is cashews. There are studies which say that cashews can actually get rid of depression. If not get rid, at least like bring the low moods down, not depression, but at least the low moods down. So if you know that you're meeting someone that you don't like meeting, peanuts, cashews, banana.
There are so many health fads which we've been hearing about, talking about continuously. And I think every 2 years there's a new one which takes entire cities, communities, countries by rage. Auntie, you have seen so many. What was really your take on them? And is there any one specific which we should 100% ignore?
No carbs. Nowadays, because I'm at this age having friends who have developed borderline diabetes. Even one of my sisters has also developed borderline diabetes. But what they do is they are not eating carbohydrates at all, and they are having high protein diet. And they are very happy. Their diabetic pill, they don't have to take now, whatever small they were taking. But their immunity is so low that one of them was admitted to the hospital. And the doctor there told her also that your immunity has gone down. But still, the people are so much affected or so much carried away, you can say, by these fads, that after, in the hospital also she was insisting that I want my...
I think the doctor forced her, huh? Yeah.
Doctor forced her, you have to eat here what we are giving. But when she was discharged and she went home, she again started with the same old protein wala diet. And she was eating curds daily, morning, afternoon, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Now she is not eating it at all. No, vegan completely, no milk products, no rice, no bananas, no mangoes. I always used to send her mangoes from our farm. This year she has instructed me, Rekha, don't send me. See, I felt so bad. So please never do that, no carbs diet. Because when you eat carbohydrates, now when we are speaking here, you are listening to us. So energy is required. And energy you get from carbohydrates only. And if you are not eating carbohydrates, proteins will be consumed for that energy. And then proteins cannot do their work of maintaining the cells or growth of the cells, repairing of the cells. That work gets hampered. And therefore, I always say, but I don't try to tell now anyone anything because everyone is so convinced. So I keep quiet as ignore.com, Marnika. Go on.
Really, Rujita, what is your take on this a whole fad diet which changes every season? And then there are seasons where I've heard people are walking 20,000 steps, 30,000 steps in a day. And every other way of traumatizing your body and then your mind and the rest of your family. What is really your take on this?
I'm very grateful for all the fads that keeps me in business, Richa. If there were no fads, you would not need a dietitian for clarity. I really feel that as human beings, each one of us knows what to eat, when to eat it, and when to stop. It is really, you do not need anyone or anyone's guidance to tell you क्या खाना चाहिए, कब खाना चाहिए और कितना खा के आपको रुकना चाहिए. 50, 60 years ago when there were no dietitians, people were thinner than what they used to be currently. We are now turning out to be a very obese country. We make what the weight loss industry has managed to tell every single person. The weight loss industry has brainwashed us into believing that if you're not suffering, you're not going to get thin at the end of it. If you're not depriving yourself, then you're not going to get thin at the end of it. If you are not hating what you eat, then nothing good is going to come out of you. And I'm like, why should you suffer with your food? Shadi enough nahi hai kya? There is enough pain and suffering in everyone's life. Food has to be something that brings joy, that allows you to connect even with your inattentive husband, no, this is not for GP, this is for all men, no, but because seriously, I feel food is something over which we come together, and because see, in my work, in my line of work, I've seen, I work with both men and with women, and when nothing good comes out of women depriving themselves of food. I also feel that relationships begin to get unnecessarily complicated because there are enough complications in any intimate relationship. They're bound to be, that is also the whole joy of a partnership, that you overcome all of these challenges together. But the one faltu challenge or one faltu variable that every relationship can save themselves from is this whole thing of the wife under-eating all the time. It adds unnecessary pressure on the relationship. And I have actually seen, like some of the men that I work with have told me that, for all the money that I have made, my wife will not eat even an extra piece of bread, so it's the biggest, I think it's a big way of telling off of the privileges that may have come your way when you're constantly depriving yourself of proper food. So eat properly because there is enough that is complicated. And I think, my main advice to everyone is never ask your husband if you're looking fat or thin. Because all answers are wrong. And I say this to, like, if it was a men full of room, if it was a room full of men, I would say this, कि अगर तुम्हारे वाइफ ने पूछा कि मैं पतली लग रही हूँ क्या, तो आंसर ही मत करो, वो गेम खेलो ही मत कि मैं पतली लग रही हूँ या मैं मोटी लग रही हूँ, because this is just someone looking to feel bad for herself. So don't become a part of it, So, and like I said, for women like me, I'm not saying it to GP, random men come and tell me, tum moti ho gayi ho. Like that man in Rishikesh. I don't need a husband or a friend or whatever to say that to me. But yeah, what sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. That
About the health fads.
about the health fads. Eat and only eat food that has a name in your Matrubhasha or the regional language, of the location that you're currently at. Eat the food which is in season and eat food which is cooked according to time-tested practices. So local, seasonal, traditional is the food that we should be eating, because then when we meet, we have something to exchange, something to offer, something to talk about. Otherwise, imagine all of us are meeting based on the year that we are in. हम लोग either oatmeal खाएंगे, सब लोग, irrespective of whether we are Marathi or Marwadi or Bengali or whatever, या फिर avo toast खाएंगे, या फिर seed के shots खाएंगे, या फिर I don't know, like black coffee with क्या? Yeah, with coconut milk, with those kind of things. So there is nothing then. There is no collaboration, no cooperation, no exchange. There is just competition. Sabse patli kaun hai? Everyone is a loser in that kind of a game. So don't fall for fads. Choose your food and the way you eat. Every time you're eating, think about it as the legacy that you're leaving behind. When you finally go away, people talk about what you cooked, how you fed them, what you sent them, and how you made them feel. No one talks about wo summer mein kya uski bikini body thi. No one talks about us like this. Everyone talks about how we made them feel and, the food that they exchanged with us, which also is something I want to say right now. When my mom said that there is nothing that we look forward to anymore, I think there is one thing that we all look forward to even now in 2025, and that is mango. The king of fruits is something which just comes once a year. तो उसको खाओ, खिलाओ, और मज़े से खाओ उसको, yeah, because mango is still not available year round.
So I'm going to do the last question. We'll open it up to question and answers. I mean, our talk really was about two things. It was about food, but it was also about feminism. It was about women and women being strong in the world. So I want to ask you both. I want to ask Mrs. Devekar as the mother of two strong daughters, and Rujuta as the fiery feminist that she is. I have a 1.5-year-old girl. How should I raise her? What advice would you give me and all the mothers in this room to raise strong women?
I was not a very strong woman. But because of certain circumstances, I always wanted my daughters to be strong. And that is one reason that I never said no to both of them. I mean, many people ask us that, when she started with her career, she was just aerobic trainer. So one of our relatives has asked me, in Marathi I will tell you, तिचं पोट तरी भरू शकेल का? I mean, whether she will be able to feed herself. इतना भी पैसा वो कमा सकेगी क्या? But we never thought of that. Whatever they wanted to do, we allowed them to do. So that is the kind of freedom that we have given, and I think that we should give to our daughters. And another thing, I feel that I am not the only person who has shaped them. The entire family, the entire society, the teachers, the neighbors, everyone is responsible. Somehow what happens is when the girls, when anyone, the credit also goes to mother, and if the son or daughter does something wrong, then also the mother is blamed. So that should not happen, I think. So of course, some credit will come to me, but it will go to everyone around me. Because I was also working, so my neighbor has taken care of them.
I think, you're doing a fab job already, being a good mother. I feel that this whole mother role has too much pressure, and then we constantly feel that we are insufficient and not good enough, and then it just makes our relationship with our daughters especially very complicated. I always feel that people feel that mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship complicated hai, husband-wife relationship complicated hai. Sabse zyada complicated relationship is mother and daughter, and it is complicated because I think a daughter kind of amplifies everything that is bad in her mother with her behavior and completely ignores anything that is good. That tends to be our natural tendency. But I want to say this not just like for our biological daughters, but for any girl who is younger than us, and for that matter, even any girl who is older than us, because different women are vulnerable at different points of time in their life. That has nothing to do with age. Don't dim their spark. I think that's one of the first things that we should do, because sometimes we get so scared of what our girl can possibly become that to kind of protect her, we begin to dim her spark. And just yesterday, I had this post, I made this post on Instagram because I spoke to kids at their age of puberty. And puberty, I feel, is really, really delicate because boys give up on softness and girls give up on strength. If we can create a society where boys can continue to be soft and if girls can continue to be strong, then we will truly have an equal and equitable and wonderful society. Thank you. Yeah, so don't dim their spark, and don't take everything that they do, say, and become personally, because it's really got nothing to do with us. They are their own people. For all of you who watched this Netflix series, Adolescence, in the 4th episode is wonderful because it's a dialogue between the parents and what did we do that he turned out like this, but it's basically, we can't take what they do personally. Sometimes they just do what they do. And what's the third thing that I would like to say? I think just celebrate, love, and accept every woman, and start with yourself. That's the best way to raise your daughter.
Can we have some questions from the audience?
recently saw your video on FB with Kareena Kapoor at your book launch, and she was talking about her khichdi diet. Like we all, I'm sure, me in particular, we have a lot of khichdi at home, and we make a lot of khichdi's at home with different pulses and sabzi, vegetables and everything. So I would like you to tell me a bit more about that khichdi diet she was talking about, which she was saying that she always insists that you give that one khichdi diet in her weekly routine or a monthly routine always.
Yeah.
So by that, if we can lose weight or maybe just maintain weight, I think then we don't need to really feel guilty about eating food.
Yes. No, thank you for that question. Just, I think a couple of days ago, someone was, I was in an interview and the interviewer asked me that, how do you feel about size 0? Don't you feel terrible that you were somehow the reason why this whole thing started? And I said, no, I feel very good because our main message was that, you can, not that I or Kareena coined the term size 0, but the main message that got through was that you can eat aloo paratha, poha, and dal chawal and khichdi and lose weight. And feel good and pursue everything in your life. So what is the khichdi diet? The khichdi diet is nothing but the regular khichdi that you eat in your home. And we all know that there are some times where khichdi is really special. जैसे कि आप destination wedding से वापस आ गए खिचड़ी, PMS हो रहा है खिचड़ी, Europe holiday के cruise के बाद में वापस आ गए खिचड़ी, खाना खाने के में बोर हो रहा है क्या बनाऊं खिचड़ी, last minute guest खिचड़ी. So खिचड़ी is a wonderful thing, and I think कि मारवाड़ियों में ही कहावत है ना, खिचड़ी के 4 यार Yeah. Who are those char yaar? Papad, dahi,
Dahi, achar,
घी और अचार,
achar.
you know. So अगर हम खिचड़ी बनाते रहेंगे तो I think हम लोग life enjoy करते रहेंगे. But when Kareena says it, it becomes a diet.
Diet, yeah.
You know, yeah. But she's also talking about the exact same thing that our dadis and nanis are talking about.
So then there's no problem in eating khichdi in a regular diet and then still maintain or
Yes,
lose weight.
absolutely. In fact, what she was saying is that the person who has the maximum problem with her eating khichdi is her cook. Because
Yeah.
he feels कि तुमने मेरे को employ किया हर रोज मैं
हर रोज
खिचड़ी बना रहा हूँ
खिचड़ी
खिचड़ी बना रहा हूँ तो वो बोर हो गया है.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question I wanted to ask you was, what is this Ozempic revolution which is happening? Which is like, ma'am, Rekha ma'am correctly said, every few years there's a fad going on. So a few years back it was a no carbohydrate, high protein diet fad. Now all of a sudden we are seeing the Ozempic tablet or the injection fad. So what exactly is that? Because a lot of people have lost weight because of that.
Lot of people lose weight even if they get diarrhea, you know. So the point is not losing weight. The point is losing weight because of improved body composition. So really don't bother so much about losing weight as much as you should bother about working out regularly, ensuring that you're getting good sleep, not having sugar cravings, having a smooth period, waking up with good energy levels, being in touch with your hunger and satiety. That is a lot more important and critical for how good you feel than how much you weigh on the weighing scale. Baki, what do I think about Mounjaro and Ozempic? I think कि अपने दुश्मनों को दो, because then वो आपको कम दिखाई देते हैं, उनकी साइज कम हो जाती है, एंड बिकॉज दे लूज मस्क्यूलेचर वो लोग प्रीमच्योरली बूढ़ा भी दिखने लगते हैं, तो यू कैन गेट अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ किक. और हाँ, चुड़ैल नहीं दिखते बिकॉज चुड़ैल यंग दिखती है, यू नो. सो इन सम केसेस in a tiny population, things like Ozempic, Mounjaro can be helpful for certain things. But when it is used purely for vanity, we should not be under the impression कि मैं पतली हो जाऊंगी तो दुनिया मेरे को अलग नज़र से देखेगी. नहीं देखेगी. Haters will still be haters.
Yeah.
Lovers will still be lovers.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi. I just want to know, do illness-specific diets work, especially for cancer? Like people go on a diet, how much does it work?
You know, there is no data to say that if you ate only this, you would be free of cancer, or that there would not be any recurrence of cancer, or that if you had sugar, or you would get cancer, or if you prevented sugar, you would not get cancer. Unfortunately, whether it is cancer is amongst the most damaging diseases that one can ever get, because वो पूरे फैमिली को खड्डे में लेके जाती है, you know, not just the person who is affected by it. And that's why when there is anyone within our circle of friends or family who's affected by cancer, we tend to get you know, we really want to go all out to see what is it that we can do. And then we have suggestions of food के आप ये वाला जूस ले लो, आप नीम के पत्ते खाओ, आप हल्दी का शॉट लो, आप ये करो, वो करो. अभी बीमारी any which ways is causing whatever that it has to cause, the nausea, the you know, the general fatigue, the weight loss and stuff. And then if there are all of these random things that we are eating which have no proven basis, then it just makes things worse. I think the only way to truly support anyone who is going through any kind of a disease is by being there with them. Maybe watching a movie with a person who is affected is a lot more useful than calling them and giving them diet advice. So that's really my take. There is no illness-specific diet. There is no illness-specific diet. There is, the only thing that we do know is that there is something called as social determinants of health. Social determinants of health matlab, there are non-medical factors, non-weight factors which can have an influence on your health outcomes. So if you're born in poverty, if you're born in certain pin codes, if you're born, if you're the 7th or the 8th child of your parents, if you have lack of access to education, if there is lack of access to healthcare, then all those things could make your health outcomes poorer. That is well known, but no shot, no seed, no shake, no soup is going to get rid of diseases. Social determinants of health, our support in terms of taxes and governments to reach out to the vulnerable with better opportunities and better access to green open parks and nutritious food will help dent the disease burden that our country currently faces.
I want to just say, like many people suffer from IBS. And like after 50, it's
Yes.
very common. So can you throw some light on it and what kind of diet we can have with IBS?
Dahi rice, banana, these are excellent things for IBS. In fact, I have a whole series on IBS where I talk about IBS in detail, IBS for diarrhea, IBS for constipation, and IBS which is mixed, which is unpredictable. You don't know कि आज क्या होने वाला है.
We'll just take one last question,
Yeah,
please.
my question is about osteoporosis.
Sorry?
Osteoporosis.
Okay.
Women and menopause and osteoporosis. So how can you avoid it and how do you go about it?
Again, good food, that is something which we need. And one of the things that we can do to prevent osteopenia, osteoporosis, is by staying more on our feet. Actually, when I was saying to Chicky that we should just go to the space, we are weightless. We may be weightless, but then our bones don't get the stimuli of gravity and therefore they become much weaker. In fact, no matter, one of the ways in which people predict how old we are is by actually making a judgment of what our bone density is. So when people look young, these are invariably people who have strong bone density. And working out often, practicing yoga, eating more home-cooked meals, that's all that you really need to do for osteoporosis.
Ma'am, my question is, ma'am, in today's world, there's so much of medically engineered supplements and an entire industry is flourishing because of it. Is our local and seasonal food enough for today for us to absorb it and not need those supplements?
Yes, it really is enough, See, supplements, even if you use them, should at the most be like an aid, something which supports a healthy diet, workout routine and good lifestyle, and not something which is in place of it. Now, you want to do that last question from Adit?
Thank you.
Yes.
So before I go into the question, with the permission of President Ma'am, may I take a minute of?
Yes.
So,
I also want to say that because we support diversity and inclusion, Aditya Agarwal is here and he is getting the opportunity to ask
Thank
a
you.
question. Yes.
So as I entered this hall, many people asked me, how am I here today? So I'm here for 4 reasons.
4, nice.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but 4 is not too long. So number 1, ICC. As a past president of ICC, I've always looked forward towards this organization and the way it has worked and found a place for itself. When I was a president, I was invited for a few events. उसके बाद invitation नहीं मिला, इसीलिए नहीं आ सका. आज invite मिला तो मैं आया हूँ. Number 2, of course, Richa. I'm so happy for her. Thank you everyone for giving her this chance. Enjoy it. Third, of course, for Rujuta. इनके लिए मैं एक बहुत पुराना गाना है मन्ना दे का. मैं गा नहीं सकता, सुनाऊंगा, लेकिन दोस्त कहाँ कोई तुमसा कहाँ कोई मिस्टर, कभी तुम डार्लिंग, कभी महबूबा, कभी भोली वाली सिस्टर.
अरे क्या बात है, thank you.
And the 4th one, of course, the beautiful ladies and the lovely ladies sitting around. I hope to continue to get this, the invitation to be here. Now, coming to the question. Ruchita, are you more famous for your food talks or for poor husband talks?
Both, because you cannot remove relationships out of conversations of food. How we eat, right? So, and husbands are not poor because I'm talking about them poorly. I'm talking about them poorly because they act very poorly, so I'm famous, if I'm famous, then for both, because I think I managed to link the two very well together, yeah?
May I request Eno Bala to please propose the vote of thanks?
Good evening. On behalf of Ladies Study Group, thank you for joining us and making the very first event of our year truly memorable. Food for Thought was more than just a conversation. It was a meaningful journey into the wisdom of traditional food, mindful living, and wellness. We are deeply grateful to Ruchita Divakar and Rekha Divakar for their time, their insights, and the grace with which they shared their knowledge. A special thank you to Richa Agarwal and Chiki Sarkar for bringing such thoughtfulness into the dialogue. And to you, our members, thank you for your continued support, enthusiasm, and being the heart of everything we do. We would like to extend our gratitude to Starmark for the books, gift partner Century D, media for the coverage, and JW Marriott for the hospitality. May I request LSG Chairperson Mrs. Preeti Goenka to come on stage and hand over a token of appreciation to our guest speakers.